As we all know, youth is a vital key of any wrestling promotion. My question is, from your experience, do you think AEW's 4 vice presidents have a good business sense to accept when it's time for them to step aside and let the newer, fresher act shine when their act starts to get old and stale? Or do you think we're going to have a repeat from the WCW days when wrestlers like Hogan, Hall, Nash, and Savage, etc., refuse to step aside for the younger wrestlers to make their mark?
First, I'm offended by your usage of the word act. I despise that. When people say it's an act, or they have this act, or they do their act, or it's a hot act, or whatever. That's terminology that was never used in wrestling until modern times. No, I don't think they're going to have that problem, because to have that problem, they would have to get over on a mainstream basis and stay over for a year or so. And that probably there's a better chance of me fulfilling all the behind the curtain orders in the next 6 hours than there is of them lasting a year at the top and having to have a choice of whether they should move over or not. I think they should have moved over last week. Cody's a different story. Cody knows what he's doing, but the other 3 knuckleheads, unfortunately, apparently are going to continue doing the same shit they've done for this, what do they call it? The ironic college audience instead of actual wrestling fans. And I don't think that people who, basically get into cosplay wrestling are going to be as loyal or as dedicated as real wrestling fans were, or last nearly as long before they find the next fucking hula hoop.
All right, well, let's follow up on that with our last question.
Yeah.
This one was sent in the
in all honesty, I don't think they're going to have any problem with being Nash and Hall and all these guys. Well, they don't know when to move over for the young guys. Yeah, they should have moved over before they fucking got in the way to begin with.
Well, this question is somewhat related. This was sent in to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Henry Lansky. I don't watch AEW.
Now, is he Meyer Lansky's cousin?
I was wondering. Timing-wise, we did just talk about Meyer Lansky here on the show.
You think they're keeping an eye on us, the Lansky family?
As long as it's not the Luciano family, I think we'll be okay. I don't watch AEW. Cody Rhodes is a pencil neck. But after the experience this week and Jim talking about how stupid it is for letting all these guys hire their friends, there's nothing after the but there. Everyone's having a tough time today with commas and periods. While I personally don't give a flying fuck about the future of AEW, is there maybe a benefit to hiring your friends and people you know you have chemistry with, as opposed to taking a gamble on someone you don't know?
Well, yes, obviously there's an advantage to hiring people. As we mentioned, a lot of bookers would always bring in their crew. Didn't have to be their best friends, but with their crew that they knew how to book, that they had had success with in the past, that they had either worked against or with as partners or used as bookers to a level of success. And that's the way the business was founded. And they would travel to the different territories and do the same or similar angles, as we mentioned earlier, with Mid-South, which was a revamp of what they'd done in Memphis because it hadn't been seen. But first, you have to be able to identify talent. In the successful cases, the bookers book guys that are part of their crew because they know how to get them over, and they know how to get over, and they draw money with their thing, and they happen to be friends because of that, not the other way around. Because I'm sorry, but there's no other way to explain why there is a level of either unsigned or underserved wrestlers today that are signed to places that would probably allow them to be bought out for the money that All Elite Wrestling is being able to throw around. There's legitimate talent instead of a guy that sticks his hands in his pockets and a guy the size of a fucking 4th grader and a guy and on and on and on. That just smacks of, hey, either we really think this clown show is going to appeal to a large amount of people enough to sustain us, or while this guy that we're sucking dry don't realize what's going on, we're going to get all our friends a job and show them. It doesn't make sense. So yeah, nothing wrong with hiring your friends as long as they're good. If you have major motion picture stars as your friends and you want to shoot a major motion picture, then that's when that comes in handy. But if you want to shoot a major motion picture and your friends are the fucking bag boys at Kroger, I don't think it's a fucking positive thing to hire your friends in that instance.
All right, since you're a betting man and you like to gamble, let me ask you another question. If you had to right now place a wager on which of the four executives, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Cody Rhodes, that Tony Khan will get fed up with first, who do you think it'll be?
Wouldn't you think it would have to be Kenny Olivier?
I don't know. The Bucks could get annoying.
Well, yeah, but at the same time, I can see Olivier dying on a hill for his art before I can the Bucks, who obviously just want to make as much money as possible and don't give a fuck what they do and then get out. Because, Olivier seems like he takes this now. The guy who wrestled grade school children and blow-up dolls in public now takes his art seriously, whereas it looks like the Bucks will just, they're going to show up and do the super kick. Like Nick Cage, when he got into money issues and would just shoot any movie he was offered, they're just going to show up and super kick the fucking production assistant in the back hallway whenever anybody wants them to.
Jim, who had the best super kick of all time other than Chris Adams?
Oh, God. I don't know. I do not know because I don't know that I've seen them all.
Were you a fan of Shawn Michaels' super kick?
Well, I mean, he got it over better than anybody else, but it wasn't the best looking one. But it was smooth and it was safe and it looked good enough because he's a fabulous, fucking worker. But I don't know that it was the most devastating looking one. Jimmy Del Rey's was actually very underrated.
Yeah, he had a good one. I saw that a few times in Tennessee.
But I don't know if I'm learned enough in all the super kicks right now. To quantify something as the best of all time, I'd need to go back and compare tapes.
One last thing before we wrap the show up, because you've brought this up several times, and I want to get your thoughts on this. The idea of buy these guys out of their contracts. Are you speaking about a WWE contract? Do you think Vince McMahon would ever go for?
No. I'm talking about anybody else. If I really wanted to have a fucking tag team division and I was a billionaire, the first thing I'd do is call Ring of Honor and say, how much do you want for the Briscoes? And solved. And then I would watch somebody try to buy the Young Bucks physically fighting Mark and Jay Briscoe. But if you want to draw money on a mainstream basis and have a tag team division, I'm not saying that Vince would let the Revival go. No, he doesn't need the money. But any other wrestling promotion in the world, when compared with a billionaire, I'm sure would be anxious to, not anxious necessarily, but willing to deal. And you'd save yourself money in the long run. Because they're right now they're signing all of the fucking dregs of humanity of the Dramedy Wrestling Federation, and all those guys are going to shit the bed, and then they're going to need talent anyway. Yeah, I'm sorry, but the guy with his hands in his pockets is not going to spark a giant fucking surge of all elite wrestling ticket sales. It's just muddying the water and getting in the fucking way. They needed to concentrate on some money-drawing fucking talent right off the bat, and instead, the unknown shit show has been paraded out in front of people.